The morning was soft, the kind where the sky holds a faint blush of dawn, and the air smells of dew-soaked grass. Clara Bennett pulled into her parking spot outside her townhouse, her hands trembling from a 12-hour night shift at Mercy General. She was beyond tired-drained, the kind of exhaustion that blurs the edges of the world. 2 emergency codes, a skeleton crew, and endless patience had left her surviving on stale coffee and a half-eaten protein bar. All she wanted was to get her daughter, Sophie, inside and collapse for a fleeting nap. Sophie, barely 2, had finally dozed off in her car seat, her tiny mouth slack, head tilted in that sacred, heavy sleep only a toddler can manage. Clara glanced at her in the rear view mirror, her heart swelling with relief. The engine hummed to silence. The neighborhood was still, sprinklers whispering across lawns. She cracked the windows, instinct guiding her to keep the air fresh, to preserve that fragile peace. For a moment, Clara just sat, hands on the wheel, breathing. It was the first real breath she'd taken all night. She looked back at Sophie, so still, so perfect. The toddler had been fussy, teething, and overtired from a restless night. Clara couldn't bear to wake her, not yet. Not after the crying fits during the drive. So, with the gentle precision only a mother knows, she unbuckled Sophie, cradled her close, and slid into the front seat, holding her daughter against her chest. Sophie didn't stir. Clara's head tipped back, eyes fluttering shut out of sleep, but in that liminal state where her body stayed gallant, but her heart could finally slow. She sat like that for maybe a minute, 2 at most, letting the quiet wash over her. It wasn't laziness or neglect. It was love, raw and exhausted, a stolen moment to hold her baby in peace, free from the chaos of alarms and hospital beeps. She whispered to herself, "Just a minute to breathe." But that minute, that tender pause, was about to be shattered by a force so reckless, so blind, it would rip her world apart. The sound was a violent crack, like thunder splitting a clear sky. Clara's eyes snapped open, her heart lurching. The diaper bag slipped from her lap as instinct screamed something was wrong, terribly wrong. She bolted outside, her sneakers skidding on the damp pavement, her pulse drowning out the morning's calm. Then she saw it, Victor Hayes, the HOA patrolman, in his garish orange vest, a tire iron in his hand, standing beside her car like a self-appointed judge. The windshield was a jagged ruin, glass spiderwebbing from a brutal gash in the center, shards glittering on the dash, the seat, the floor. And Sophie Clara's eyes locked on her daughter, whose face was contorted in terror, her tiny body thrashing in the car seat, woken by the blast. Sophie's cries pierced the air, high and frantic, her hands clutching her blanket, eyes wide with confusion. Clara screamed, a raw, primal sound born of seeing her child in danger. "What did you do?" she cried, her voice splintering. She lunged for the car, yanking the door open, sweeping glass away with shaking hands. Victor stood unmoved, his face blank, tire iron dangling like a guilty verdict. "I thought the kid was in a hot car," he said, flat and unapologetic, as if he just ticked a box on a checklist. Clara blinked, disbelief choking her. "It's 60 degrees. The windows were open. I was gone for 2 minutes." Her voice cracked, rage and fear colliding. She clutched Sophie, feeling her daughter's racing heartbeat, tiny specks of safety glass clinging to her pajamas. "I didn't know," Victor muttered, eyes averted. "You don't leave kids alone in cars." But Clara wasn't hearing him. She was staring at her baby, at the chaos his single swing had unleashed. The street was quiet, the sun still rising, but for Clara, the world had tilted. He hadn't checked. He hadn't looked. He saw a child through a window and swung, not for Sophie's sake, but for control, for the petty power stitched into his vest. Victor wasn't a cop, had no badge, no training. But in that moment, he acted with the arrogance of someone who believed his HOA clipboard made him untouchable. As Clara held Sophie, her arms trembling, he had the audacity to pull out his phone, circling the car, snapping photos like he was documenting a crime. "UVYOLAT HOA Safety Code 5.4, he said, voice clipped, quoting rules like scripture. Unattended minor in a vehicle. That's reportable. Clara's breath caught. She wasn't unattended, she said, voice tight. I stepped inside for a minute. She was never in danger. But Victor was already dialing, his tone cold and rehearsed. This is Victor Hayes, Garden Hills HOA safety officer. I need to report suspected child endangerment. The words hit like a second blow. Child endangerment. A label that could stain her forever, a mother's worst fear weaponized by a man who hadn't even knocked. Sophie's sobs softened, but her little sock had glass flecks embedded in the fabric, a chilling reminder of how close this came to worse. I'm obligated to report negligence, Victor said, as if his call shielded him from the wreckage he'd caused. Negligence. The word burned in Clara's mind. Negligence wasn't Thea's a tired mother holding her baby, choosing calm. It was Victor's reckless swing, his refusal to question his own assumptions. Neighbors peeked through curtains, one paused mid-watering her lawn, but no one approached. Clara didn't yell. She couldn't. Her energy was spent shielding Sophie, brushing glass from her clothes, whispering comfort. But inside, a fire grew not loud, but fierce, fueled by the injustice of a man who thought rules gave him the right to destroy. That night sleep was a stranger. Clara lay beside Sophie, her hand on her daughter's back as the toddler stirred, whimpering at shadows only she could see. The trauma hadn't stayed in the driveway. It clung to their home like a ghost. Clara's mind raced. What if they believe him? What if negligent mother becomes her story? Guilt gnawed, though she'd done nothing wrong, followed by finite of punishment, but of judgment, of how quickly truth can twist when someone in a vest speaks with confidence. By morning, her phone buzzed with texts. Clara, you okay? Was that your car? Each question felt like a pinprick of doubt. She avoided the street, the neighbor's eyes. Then a call came. Sweetheart, said Evelyn Carter, the elderly widow 2 doors down. You're not alone. Victor had found her for a spring wreath in April, citing seasonal decor violations. Later, Tom from across the street messaged Victor had stalked his wife for walking their dog on a harness, calling it a leash violation. Another neighbor, Maria, shared how Victor accused her son of littering when he wasn't even home. It wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern. Victor wielding HOA rules like a club, intimidating anyone who crossed his path. Clara didn't plan it. She just sat on her bed, in a faded sweatshirt, Sophie napping beside her. Her phone's camera caught her raw no makeup, just dark circles and resolve. She spoke clearly. My name is Clara Bennett. I'm a nurse, a mom. Days ago, an HOA patrolman smashed my car's windshield with my daughter inside. She panned to the cracked glass, Sophie's car seat, a faint scratch on her cheek. I'm not here to shame. I'm here because this could happen again, and next time, it might be worse. I was exhausted, not reckless. My baby was safe until someone acted without checking. This is about assumption over reason, power without accountability. She ended softly. If this happened to you, speak up. It's the only way it stops. She posted it and looked away. By nightfall, the video had 80,000 views. By morning, hundreds of thousands. Comments flooded in. Mothers shamed for nursing in cars, veterans stifled by HOA rules stricter than military code, teachers and caregivers silenced by petty tyrants. HOA gone rogue. This happened to my cousin. You're not alone. News outlets called. A local station ran a segment. When neighborhood rules break trust. Clara didn't feel vindicated, but she felt a shift. Her story wasn't hers alone. Anna Marie, it was a spark. The HOA meeting was packed, the air thick with tension. Clara sat in the back, clutching a folder. Victor sat rigid, arms crossed, jaw tight. When the floor opened, neighbors stood. Maria spoke of her son's false accusation. Mr. Chen shared fines for unapproved patio chairs. Evelyn mentioned her wreath. Each story was a thread in a tapestry of control. Then Clara walked forward, set her phone down, and played the 911 call. Her frantic voice, Sophie's cries. The room froze. She spoke. This isn't about revenge. It's about safety, about the line between help and harm, about accountability. Silence followed. Even Victor didn't move. The board's vote was swift, unanimous. Victor was stripped of all HOA duties. No more patrols, no more tire irons. New rules banned volunteers from engaging with minors. Emergencies would go straight to professionals. Clara's windshield was replaced. A neighbor, a therapist, offered Sophie free sessions. But what lingered wasn't the fix, it was the resolution. Clara hadn't fought for applause. She fought for safety, for Sophie, for others silenced by petty power. As she left the meeting, porch lights flickering on, she felt safe again. Weeks later, the neighborhood hummed with normalcy, kids on bikes, sprinklers at dawn. Sophie's laughter returned, her sleep unbroken. Clara's chest loosened, the fear fading. Messages poured in, from strangers, mothers, neighbors. You gave me courage. I spoke up because of you. One stood out. I was scared, but you showed me I could. Clara hadn't sought a movement, but her truth had rippled, unlocking voices, proving that even a shaky hand can shift a corner of the world. She was still a nurse, still a mom, still tired. But now, she knew her voice could carry, and that was enough.